talking about this letter of credit, wherein the role of your issuing bank, nominated bank being discussed. So basically letter of credit, as we discussed, that there must be some securities which the importer must have pledged so as to secure that warranty or the credit worthiness from the issuing bank. So letter of credit is issued against a pledge of securities or cash. So banks typically do what is, they will collect a fee which is very a nominal amount for the services that they provide for issuing these letter of credit. So herein the very role of your banks will come into the picture, wherein against those securities that being pledged by your issuing bank, and similarly in case of your exporters bank, that is your nominated bank, whatever the documents that being asked by the nominated bank, it will be provided by the exporter bank, and accordingly the services that being provided by the nominated bank to the exporter for the same also, it is going to collect a fee. So there is some which the fee is very nominal into nature, because since they are providing those banking services, so it has to collect those processing fee so as to facilitate the very seamless process of this trade. Now the parties to the letter of credit. So what all are the crucial parties? So primarily, if I talk about the major parties to a letter of credit, is your applicant, which is your importer, which will request its bank to issue this letter of credit. So that being the first very role of your importer, that it will seek out an application with its issuing bank, will request for issuing the LC and provide pledge the securities, and bank in turn in return for a fee will issue such LC on behalf of the applicant. So second party is your issuing bank, which is the importer's bank, which will issue the LC, which is also known as the opening banker of a letter of credit, and which will issue these LCs on behalf of the importer. Third is your whom? The exporter, which is the beneficiary, जिसको ये letter issue किया जाएगा, which is your letter of credit. And then it's your nominated banks. Nominated banks, that means the one which being authorized by the exporter to receive the documents on behalf of the, or receive the payment on behalf of the your exporter. So whatever documents, whatever the payment, so everything being this nominated bank is there, which will act on its behalf. Now there are various other parties which play a very crucial role in this entire settlement process of your LC, which is your advising banks. So banks which advises the LC, certifying its authenticity to the beneficiary, and is generally a bank operating in the country of the beneficiary. Now advising is basically, they are talking about that they will certify its authenticity to the beneficiary, कि कितना authentic है आपका issuing bank, right? और basically ये advising bank कौन होगा? This is going to operate in the country of this beneficiary who will receive the payment. That means the exporter who is going to receive this payment from the importer, which is their exporter. So the advising bank will be advising him about that, okay, that issuing bank, is it like a validated one? Is it like having a good credit worthiness or not? So it is going to advise into context of those things on those parameters. So an advising bank, which is in the context of letter of credit, is a bank which notifies the beneficiary about a newly opened credit in their favor and checks the authenticity of this letter of credit. But mind it, they are not responsible for the payment. They are doing what? Only the advisory roles. So it is going to advise the whom? The exporter about what? The issuing bank. So they are going to see that, okay, it is going to notify that bank that okay, this beneficiaries has, there is a newly open credit in his favor, and it will check for the authenticity of that letter of credit, but it will not say that, okay, I am going to pay on behalf of that, so I am confirming that. Nothing like that. There is no responsibility, but just an advisory role. So sometimes your nominated banks also perform the function of your advising banks. Next into the queue is your confirming banks. Now confirming banks, as I mentioned, that there is a confirmed LC. Confirmed LC, that means that there is some confirmation by the by a bank which confirms that this very letter of credit, no matter what, I will or the bank will assure that this will be, when presented, the bank will make the payment. So here in the confirming bank, which a bank which adds its guarantee to the letter of credit which is being opened by another bank, and thereby undertakes its responsibility for acceptance or payment or negotiation, including deferred payments under the credit in addition to that of the issuing bank. Now herein it is very important to understand that issuing bank is different, that has issued this LC. Now this issuing bank and confirming bank has two different banks, because one who is issuing this LC and the second one who is providing an authenticity or the guarantee to this LC. That means a bank which provides its guarantee to this letter of credit which is being opened by another bank, and thereby it undertakes this responsibility for payment or negotiation or for any other settlement, including if there being any deferred payments on to a later point of time, that being also handled by your confirming bank. So it is basically like a normal bank which is operating again in the country of your beneficiary, and its guarantee adds to the acceptability of the LC for the beneficiary, because if there being any guarantee that being attached to this LC, so it becomes much more secure proposition for your beneficiary. So that means the beneficiary is assured that okay, I have supplied my this very consignment to the importer, now I should be rest assured, because there is a confirming bank which is providing me this assurance that it will be providing for the payment of the same or the negotiation whenever such contingent situation arises, right. So this is being done at the authorization or the request of the issuing bank. So issuing bank does provide that authorization, okay, we authorize that this very bank will be a confirming bank, and this will be added to the letter of credit, that this very confirming bank, it has given its guarantee to a letter of credit which is being issued by the issuing bank, that means another bank. So there is an extra layer of your security for that seller, and by guaranteeing the payment, even if thought issuing bank default, so that means अगर कुछ भी political upheaval होता है या economic downturn होता है, so then there is a bank who is affirming that okay, I will be the one who will be providing this guarantee, and this bank has to be into the beneficiary's place, because then only it will be assured. Otherwise, if it is into the same place of operation as your issuing bank is, then the point is the same. If there is a political upheaval or an economic downturn, then it will be difficult for both the banks to operate into. So that is why the confirming bank is there, who will provide this extra layer of your security guarantee to the importers, right. So there is a very crucial role of these confirming banks. See, you are saying that there is someone to have your back, that means you be rest assured about delivering the goods. The bank, there is one bank who is assuring you about your payment. So that means it is considered as the most safest option for an exporter and the least secured one for the importer. Now why the least secured one for the importer? Because importer is having no role once it has requested its bank to issue an LC on its behalf. Then the importer is doing none of the roles. It's the banks that are doing those intermediary services or the facilitating the process, because the bank would not see upon whether the quality of the goods that being received is of good standards, or the make is good or not. So all those risk factors will lie onto the shoulders of your importer. So that risk is being that risk is mainly borne by your whom? The importer. So that way it's not a much secured option when it comes to your importer, but the most secured one when you see it from the exporter's point of view, right. Nominated bank, another party which is a bank in exporter's country. Obviously it is an exporter's bank, so it has to be there into exporter's bank, which is specifically authorized by the issuing bank. The issuing bank also has to authorize the same, okay, that I authorize this very bank that it will receive negotiate the documents that being sent by the issuing bank to the nominated banks in return to whatever has been submitted by the nominated bank to the issuing bank. So that's like a continuous process wherein the documents that being demanded by the issuing bank has to be submitted by the nominated bank, and then when there are any objections or any minor changes that needed to be made or additional documents to be called upon, the nominated bank has to provide those documents. So that is why the issuing bank has to provide that authorization to this very nominated bank that okay, this bank is authorized by the issuing bank to receive, negotiate the documents and pay that amount to the exporter. Of course, after deducting those commission or those fee that being charged by the bank. So this is how seamlessly and the entire the process runs in this entire case of your, you could say, trade settlement. Another bank is your reimbursing bank. So the banks which are authorized to honor the reimbursement claim which is being made by the paying, accepting or negotiating bank. So it is normally the bank with which issuing bank is having that nostro account from which this payment is made to the nominated bank. Now how does it move on, that this reimbursing bank? See, the payment first being made by the issuing bank to your this nominated bank, right? So herein the bank with which this issuing bank is having this nostro account through which this payment is made to this nominated bank. Now the bank will authorize that this to honor this reimbursement claim, that after seeing into all those negotiations with the bank, with this nominated bank, there will be a reimbursing bank which will be making the payment, which will be authorized to do the reimbursement claims by which has been made by the accepting bank, which is your negotiating bank. So in an international trade, whenever this importer's issuing bank, it opens any letter of credit for this your exporter, the seller bank will do what? That is the negotiating bank or the paying bank. It will receive some payment from the importer's bank through a reimbursing bank. So reimbursing bank comes in between your this issuing bank and your this nominated bank. So it will do what? It will first receive the payment from the issuing bank, then it will reimburse that payment to the nominated bank, provided again some documents needed to be provided, those negotiations, and again it is authorized to do so by the nominated bank also, that okay, nominated bank says that you make this payment to this headquarters and from there on this reimbursement will be done. So basically this reimbursing, this is the entirely role of reimbursing the payments. So this is also at times you would find the role of reimbursing banks into such trade settlements. Then there is transferring bank. So in a transferable you could say letter of credit, the first beneficiary, because transferable letter of credit means the letter of credit can be transferred by one person to the another person. So herein it says in such a transferable letter of credit, the first beneficiary may request the nominated banks to transfer the LC in favor of one or more second beneficiaries. Now herein, when we say that the first bank will request for this nominations to nominated bank to transfer, that means what? Let's suppose there a consignment has been sent by a company XYZ Limited, and that consignment is being sent to ABC Limited in Croatia. So whenever that payment is to be received by this nominated bank can also do the function of transferring bank. It can do, that's a very common thing, like mostly being done by these you could say nominated banks, or there can also be this transferring bank, because into this XYZ Limited there are various beneficiaries, because they have worked in collaboration, they have compiled or done that entire process, and there are 3 beneficiaries with different bank accounts. So this transferring bank will do what? It will it may request the first beneficiary, it will request that nominated bank that to transfer that LC in favor of, let's say, the second or the third beneficiary. Now such a bank will do what? The nominated bank will call upon the transferring bank, and the bank will specifically authorize the LC as a in the LC as a transferring bank, that means that has the authority to transfer the LC and to transfer those payments. So herein first the authority is to be provided that okay, that this bank has the authority to transfer the payments to the second, third or fourth beneficiary per se, that whatever be the case. So in those cases that bank will be doing the role of what, as in transferring bank, wherein it is transferring the payment from whatever being the payment. So it is further transferring that LC, and the bank specifically authorizes the same to do those part of the act, and so accordingly the amount will be transferred to the respective beneficiaries, right. Further on, when we say that okay, that there are different parties, so these were the majorly primarily parties that operate into this letter of credit. Apart from that, you can again see that they are very small, not small in a sense, they are very small activities into which various other parties are involved, but that's not like a mandate that these parties has to be there. It is like as per the requisition, as per the requirement, different people will be involved. For example, there might be a role of a freight forwarder, so that can also be a party, that can also be involved into this process. So accordingly, there can be some parties who are directly involved into the process which I mentioned, and there can be some other elements which may be involved in less you could say contributing roles, right. Further on, when we are elongating onto the types of your letter of credit, there is another format of your letter of credit which is your site credit. Now, under this very letter of credit, documents are payable at the site. So, site LC or site credit automatically clears that whenever you are presenting the correct documentations, right. So, documents are being payable at site. So, apni documents provide kare and you are getting the payment for the same. For example, a businessman can present a bill of exchange to a lender along with this site of letter of credit, and he can take the necessary funds right away. So, it is more immediate, more you could say easily transferable from any other letter of credit, because the minute you present the document and you can take that payment. So, that is a site credit. That means जैसे ही present करा वैसे ही आप जितना भी necessary funds है, you can right away take those funds. So, it is more formally called as a site letter of credit and as a financial instrument which is guaranteeing the payment to the seller, that whenever these documents are being provided by the seller to XYZ banks, and when these goods have been shipped by the seller, he can provide those documents and right away, straight away, if there is a site letter of credit, he can take away the payment. So, that is very quick one than any other format of your letter of credit. So, that means a site letter of credit is payable the minute it is presented and all those documents are provided to the appropriate banking institution. So, this site letter of credit will involve these basic parties, which is the buyer will be there, the seller will be there, and the issuing bank will be there. Issuing bank who is acting on behalf of your, again, the importer, right. So, it is a very quick one, it is a very preferable one obviously by your exporter and not so preferable by the importer. So, they have to see for the feasibilities, they have to work on to those probabilities and those combinations, that how it will fit into that settlement terms and conditions. Next is your acceptance credit or time credit also. So, as the name indicates, something which is drawn after a particular period lapses. So, if it is a 30 days period, once that 30 days period is lapsed by, so then only you can you can easily get that letter of credit, you could say you can get your payment in turn for those letter of credit. So, when we are saying that time credit or your acceptance credit, those the bill of exchange which are drawn, which are payable after a period 30 days, 40 days, 60 days. So, that period after a period, those bills being drawn, they are called as their usance bills. So, under those acceptance credit, these usance bills are accepted, they are presented, and after those dates are there, those respective dates, 30 days period let us say. So, in that case, after that period completes, that period gets due. So this 30 days period will be a usance period for the sale, and once that is completed you can get your payment. So for example, a company which purchases materials from a supplier and it received the goods on the same day. It can be in certain cases, many countries are not so into such a distance, so there can be possibility that it purchases the raw material and it receives the shipment onto the same day. The goods will be the bill will be delivered with the shipment of goods, but there is a condition of 30 days to pay it. So the minute that 30 days period is completed, that usance bills for we call it the usance period, that is completed. So then that very time credit trade will be there, which refers to this entire short term financing arrangement, which says the minute 90, 30, 60, 40, whatever is the typical time frame, that completes, so you can easily get for your payment for the same after once that period is completed. So that is why it is said as time credit, or your the one that is based on to your acceptance. So acceptance credit, time credit is the most favorable format for the same. Next is revocable and irrevocable. We have already discussed about, wherein the one which can be easily revoked by any of the parties, which is very much less practical to be adopted by any of the parties, because since it has more repercussions and the parties would not be ready to bring into such a document which can be unilaterally be changed. Rather, it will call for such a document which is an irrevocable one, that once terms and conditions being settled out, then there is no go back, then there is nothing you can change it until unless all the three parties, which is your bank, which is your importer and your exporter, are there in in agreement with each other. So that way is both three of the parties have to agree upon with respect to your letter of this irrevocable credit. So that's in another form. Confirmed credit, only irrevocable LC can be confirmed. That means a confirmed LC is one when a banker other than the issuing bank adds to its own confirmation to the credit. So we have discussed about these confirmed credits, and now there is another point that needed to be understand, that only if your LC is irrevocable, जिसको चेंज नहीं किया जा सकता, उसी को आप कंफर्म करेंगे. अगर आप अपनी LC को बार बार चेंज करते रहेंगे, if it is revocable one, then how would the bank be giving that confirmation? So for that confirmation to be received, that LC needed to be irrevocable one. So that is why a confirmed LC is one wherein the banker other than your issuing bank, which gives its confidence to that credit, that in case of confirmed LCs, the beneficiary bank would submit the documents to the confirming bank, and the confirming bank, after receiving such stipulated documents, will of course be making the payment. So in that case, your this very confirmed credit will only be applicable when there is an irrevocable letter of credit. Next is your back-to-back credit. Now, this back-to-back credit herein, the exporter, which is the beneficiary, it will request its banker that it will issue an LC in favor of the supplier, so that to procure those raw material goods on basis of that export LC which being received by him. Now, what is this? This sort of LC is known as your back-to-back credit. Why do we call it a back-to-back credit? Now, understand, let's suppose any Indian exporter, he has received an export letter of credit from his overseas client which is there into some other country, maybe any European nation, and the Indian exporter approaches his banker with a request that okay to issue an LC in favor of his local suppliers, ki local जो suppliers हैं उसके favor में this LC to be issued. So the bank will do what? It's issue an LC which is backed by the exporter LC. Now what will happen here is there are three parties, understand. One who is an importer, another there is an Indian exporter who is in India, थर्ड वन जो इंडियन एक्सपोर्टर ने जहाँ से वो रॉ मटेरियल खरीदा उस सामान को आगे फर्दर सप्लाई करने के लिए. सो यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड देयर आर थ्री पार्टीज विच आर प्राइमरली इन्वॉल्व. नाउ हियर इन द इंडियन एक्सपोर्टर इट रिक्वेस्ट दोज बैंक, इट रिक्वेस्ट द बैंक कि एक LC इशू की जाए जो मेरी LC इशू हुई है उसके फेवर में. That means the LC that is very being received in favor of the exporter. Now exporter is doing what कि इस LC के फेवर में एक और बैक LC इशू की जाए, किसके के लिए, उस लोकल सप्लायर के लिए जिससे उसने रॉ मटेरियल को प्रोक्योर करा. So that is why it says back to back. Importer issued it to the exporter. Exporter wants to, further extends it and to issue a LC which is in favor of the local supplier of the raw materials in the same nation, right? So that is why it is called as a back to back LC, where the importer issues this to the exporter and the exporter to the local suppliers. And these are also being very commonly being used into the trade because it's very easier for them that in support of one LC which is there in place, they can get it generated for another, so as to easily, without indulging much capital, they are easily able to get that supplies to make the final product. So that is also very commonly used ones in the market, so and especially in your connotation of your trade. Another one is your transferable credit. Transferable, which is very easily understandable, that when you want to LC, and we have read about this, that in the very segment of your transferring banks. So while an LC, which is not a negotiable instrument, right, the bill of exchange जो उसके अंदर draw किए जा रहे हैं, they are very much negotiable. So transferable credit will do what is, herein a transferable credit is one wherein the beneficiary, it will transfer his rights to the third parties. That means उस LC के ऊपर लिखा होना चाहिए that this is a transferable credit. तो ये जितना amount मिलेगा LC का, it is supposed to be given to the third party also. Those transferable rights are given. So it has to, again, ये later on नहीं होगा, because जैसे हमने कहा mostly आपके LC होंगी irrevocable one. अब irrevocable के साथ आपको confirm करना है, transferable करना है, cite करना है, that further depends on to both the exporter and the importer. So whatever terms and conditions they want to settle it out, they can go about that. So transferable clearly means that it can be transferred to the third party, right? So in that case, herein it means that all these types that we discussed up till now, that is your transferable credit or your side credit or your revocable one or not revocable, irrevocable ones. So it has to be first understand a irrevocable document. Then understand, if you get a confirming document, that's like in icing on the cake, because you are getting a double protection against to counter yourself against the risk. Transferable or back to back credit, herein it may come in, you can write those terminologies, because back to back it will help you procure those raw material without indulging in extra amount or layer of your capital. And transferable when the benefits are to be, in which a beneficiary will transfer his rights to a third party. So third party transfer rights can also be possible. So herein you can understanding the, you could say that integrated structure of your LC, how do they operate, because there are number of parties which are involved in between. There are transferring banks, there are your reimbursing banks, there are your nominated banks, advisory banks, which are, they are playing different roles, confirmatory banks. So they are playing their different roles so as to facilitate that entire process and to make it as much as possible a seamless one, so that this trade settlement doesn't turns out to be very chaotic. Rather it should be very, very simple for both your importer and the exporter. So that is why it is very crucial that these LCs are very carefully being, whenever you are deciding upon the terms and conditions, both the parties, importer and the exporters, they have to be very, very careful about what terms and conditions they are mentioning about. So they have to be careful about whether it is a revocable one, irrevocable one, whether there are going to be a back to back credit option available or not, it is going to be a transferable one or not, it is going to be there, is there going to be a confirming bank for the same or not, who all are going to be the, who is going to be the issuing bank, who is going to be the nominated bank, and within, is it going to be a time credit, because if it is based on to a certain time period, 30, 60 or 90 days, it can vary between 30 to 90 days, so then it will be a time credit. So accordingly, depending upon, there are number of factors that decide upon किस type का LC होगा, right? और कितने banks involved होंगे depends on to the political stability, depends upon the international relations between the nation, depends upon the macroeconomic conditions, depends upon the socio-economic conditions. So all these factors does play a crucial role. So that is why we say we have to see it at a broader level, because all the macroeconomic factors, they are dynamic, they are fluctuating, so they are going to, any wrong decision in selecting a mode of payment can cost you, millions into the same. And both it has to be a secured settlement mechanism for both the importer and the exporter, and both has to be very much be cautious about when deciding upon the letter of credit. So we'll be discussing, we'll be extending this series on to the letter of credit. We'll be talking about its further importance and its repercussions when not selecting a right one into the coming sessions. Thank you for being there with me. If you have any queries, you can drop down there into the comments, and thank you. We'll be continuing about the series into the next coming sessions. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.